Yes, yes, yes. I am HO Talk Show, still here talking the good 2023 36th annual Virginia Film Festival going down October 25th through 29th. And as promised, we are sitting here with none other than our homegirl. It's been a minute,
Bruh.
Tanesha, but thank you for coming back.
Bruh.
Thought you forgot about us, you know what I mean? I
Y'all
thought
didn't
you blew
invite
up
me
and
to
stuff,
come.
you know.
Let's be real. When the last time I got an invitation?
You always welcome, you know that, sister. Always.
Okay.
Voice heard everywhere.
But hey, no, we are glad that you could join us here with Jody and Ilya, because you've been working on a project, and I know a lot of folks know, but for those that don't, want you to give them the rundown and make sure that they know that it is part of this year's lineup, Due Process, Martinsville 7 story. So give us the backdrop, like what led you to this story about the Martinsville 7.
So in 2018, we went on the first pilgrimage down to Birmingham. Shout out to Andrea Douglas, who worked on that project at the time, along with Jelaine. And when we got to Danville, it kind of went left.
Okay. How so?
And we were watching a movie
I was about to get run out of town or something.
So we were watching a movie at the time. And the movie basically was kind of it just like put Black people down, and we had just came off 2017, and we were like, don't say that they were indentured servants, like call them slaves, like. I think it was just a built up anger and frustration that we had, upset with Charlottesville and UVA about how August 11th and 12th and July 8th was handled. And it just wasn't really the time for us to be there at in Danville. And we were at the Daughters of the Confederacy. And it was just it was a lot to absorb. Okay. It's kind of like a white person going to a slave castle in Africa.
Wow.
And understanding what your ancestors may or may not have played a role in. And it was more so of us understanding what our ancestors may or may not have endured. Okay. So it was like a complete opposite flip. And we had just got back from Africa too, from the some of us from the slave castles. And I mean, going in a dungeon and walking deep down in those dungeons, you could still smell the death and the way that they probably defecated on one another. And I mean, these are deep, dark dungeons down in the slave castles. So in Danville, I then met Chad Johnson. I was introduced to Chad Johnson. And I was introduced as someone that did documentaries. And Chad was like, well, have you heard about I said Chad Johnson. I'm sorry. Chad Martin.
Martin, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on football. It's Sunday. And Councilman Chad Martin at the time was like, you a documentarian? Have you ever heard about the Martinsville 7? I was like, no. So I spent the entire pilgrimage researching the Martinsville 7, taking notes and documenting things. And I really wanted to do the project. I wanted to do the project actually in 2019 when I finished A Legacy Unbroken, the story of Black Charlottesville. But then the pandemic happened. In the summer of 21, it was brought back up. I was reached out to someone, and they told me that they didn't have anything to work on, that we should work on that project. And we started working on it in 2021. And this was like May of 21. By September of 21, they were issued a populist pardon by Governor Northam. So things just started to align and kind of fall in place for us at the time to make this project happen.
That's awesome. In due time.
And then I was researching production companies. I ended up finding an all-Black production company out of DC by the name of Tim Collective. I actually have a family member that works for them, and I wanted it to be Black men to actually work on the project, because me being a Black woman, I can only tell the story from a certain angle, but I can't really tell it from a Black male perspective. So I partnered with one group, and then I partnered with 10th Collective as the production company. And of course, always Sared Davenport. That's my right hand go-to.
Yeah, and we got him online, by the way.
Good. I'm glad you could come on, Sared. And we made it work. And then the community of Martinsville, from Chad Martin to the descendants of the Martinsville 7, the Martinsville 7 Initiative, to Liz Ryan and her legal team that worked on the pardon, and Pamela Hairston, who's been researching this for a year. She put it in the she made sure it hit the congressional record. She brought it up. She worked in DC. She's been working to kind of make something happen with the Martinsville 7 for a very long time. She doesn't get a lot of credit for her work, but she's been going strong, writing op-eds, publishing the congressional record that the Martinsville 7 was brought up in.
So what did you hear was the reason why that story wasn't being told by a local person?
So I tell you, I think the real reason is fear.
And you ain't never scared.
I ain't. I think,
especially in rural areas, that happens.
Absolutely. I think the real reason is fear. I think it's something that people really don't want to talk about. Right. I want to give a shout out even to Jody and Ilya for allowing the short to even be seen. A lot of people still don't know. They don't know the story.
Were the locals willing to talk to you about it?
Some were, some weren't. And we're not finished shooting. I still have about, give or take, 2 full weeks of shooting to do. But I think it's the level of fear and the connections. This is a deeply connected story. Highly connected to even the UVA Law School, because some of the attorneys that were present during the trial are connected to the university. So and so, like I said, we do have your partner Sared Davenport online. So Sared, I wanna ask you, and Tanesha can chime in as well, of course. But what do you hope that folks will gain from this? As far as showing in Charlottesville Film Festival, what's your hopes that the conversation, the discussion, the action will be after people view this film?
For me, I think that it's just more of the story that's never been told, right? I think we are all operating off of a social narrative that is incomplete. So it won't only be a good story for Black people, but it should be a good story for everyone, because it will, put more pieces to the puzzle so that we can have a more complete social narrative. And we will be able to, kind of live differently when we have a bigger picture of what really happened, in Martinsville, but, other places too. These stories need to continue to come out so that we can have a complete picture and live differently because of it.
Nice. Thank you. Very well said. Very well said. Of course. Brother Sared Davenport. But Tanesha, also, I want you to answer that as well. Would you, what is it about this to where you feel like people should come see it, and what you hope they take from it?
So I think it's just the time that we're in, and we're in a social movement, right? We're in a reformative state, and we're in a real deep reformative state for people of color all over the world. What we do know is that Black people have definitely been on the end for not receiving due process in the judicial system. And in order to get social justice reform, we do have to revisit tough situations like the Martinsville 7 to realize the mistakes that were made and how do we prevent ourselves from making them again. And then also taking accountability. I'm big on accountability. I don't think that there's ever a time to not be accountable for actions that have affected people. And these men aren't here. I don't want to say that I necessarily speak for them, but I will say that the work that I've done and continue to do definitely speaks for them, their families, and others that have been in this situation. So it's more about doing the right thing for me, and it's always the right time to do the right thing.
That is right.
And what are you hoping that telling this story will do for us as a people, as a culture?
I think it puts a light there's many issues like the Martinsville 7. This is just one. And it just so happened to happen here in Virginia. But we've seen many others come out who are still alive to tell their story, right? We've seen the John Bunns and the Central Park 5. They're alive and able to talk, and these men aren't able to talk. So it gives us the opportunity to dig deep and to find more issues like this, to free these men. We don't know how many people are sitting in jail that really didn't commit that crime. And if DNA wasn't fully examined the way it is today, if it was examined the way it is today as it was back then, some of these people will be free.
I guess I'm thinking more along the lines of empowerment by telling our own story.
So I think it's really important for us to tell our own story. I sound like a broken record saying that. I've been saying that since 2016, 2017. It's just important for us to give it in a way that it's not centered around fragility. We don't have to be fragile with it. We don't have to hide the truth anymore. I think it's okay for us to want to always put the hope and the faith behind the work, right? I'm definitely not against that. But I think we have to get away from not feeling like we can't show the cruelty and the pain. Like, we're expected to always get the pain, deal with the pain, and keep moving on. And sometimes we need to show the pain so others can feel the pain, so they can say, like, man, that was wrong. And I think that's how we invoke the change that we need, because, keep sugarcoating and putting up, plaques and making it sound good for the majority of all, that's cool, that's good. But we need to tell these stories to generate a movement that then gives us resources to keep going, because our history, we just don't know, and we won't know it unless we go digging. Somebody had to tell me, and I had to dig for this. It wasn't something that I knew about.
Yeah. Tanesha, thank you. Thank you as always for always being a voice and putting things out front that needs to be told and needs to be heard. So any closing comments? I want to bring Jody and Ilya back on too, to make sure people know how to reach and how to get involved, how to get those tickets as well. But any last words to the listeners about this year?
So the Due Process Martinsville 7 story, it's a short, it's not the whole film. Let me make that disclosure, because some people think it's done. It's not. Will be screened on Sunday, October 29th at 8:30 at the Valley Crown. And you can get tickets on the Virginia Film Festival website. It's in the Commonwealth Shorts section. I posted it on my social media. If you're interested in going and need the information to buy a ticket, please reach out. And I just want to again shout out Jody and Ilya at the Virginia Film Festival, because this is a huge opportunity for someone born and raised from Charlottesville. I'm born and raised from Charlottesville. I've been to the film festival events. I bought tickets this year to see a couple of films, Nick Giovanni, Ava DuVernay. We need to support this. If you're a Black creator, if you're any creator, you should support this. And the way to get your name out there, I didn't get picked with my first film, but you keep tugging away at it. Sometimes a no is a different opportunity for a larger door to open. And I think things happen at the right time when they're supposed to happen. So my first short didn't make it in. I kept plugging away. And this one, it made it in. And I just want people to not be discouraged. Like, you going up against people like the Nick Giovannis and the Ava DuVernays who are coming to this film festival. But it's a great way for you to network and to put your name out there and to get your work to the forefront of larger individuals with mass, following. So don't be discouraged. Keep going. If you're in it for the work, then when it's your time, God is going to always make sure that your time to shine comes when it's supposed to. And I thank them for realizing how important this story is and giving me the opportunity. So
do you personally see a future in filmmaking?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe, but if my work of fighting for us leads to film, and that's the direction I'm gonna go. I believe in us telling our stories, even if our stories are painful. If that pain makes us gives us the change and gives us the resources that we need to be the change we need to be for our people, I'm all for it. So
there you go.
Absolutely.
And thank you. And I wanted you to know as well, you got some kudos as well. They said, thank you for bringing this forward to the community, Tanesha and Sarad. Looking forward to the VAFF event and what emerges beyond.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So Jody or Ilya, closing comments as far as folks reaching out, participating.
Well, I just want to say to Tanesha how much I appreciate her and what she had to say. First of all, to go out there on a limb and to tell this story, which is what the festival is all about. I think I've tried to communicate that earlier in this program, is that the festival is about filmmakers who are storytellers and sharing these stories, but also as a creative here in town, your attitude coming in saying, okay, I sent a film in a couple of years ago, it wasn't accepted, but this has been, and you kept at that, and taking advantage of the festival as a resource for creatives here in town, because we do bring in some incredible filmmakers and guests, and they want not only to share their story, but hopefully to share their skills and expertise, and also to learn from people here in town. So I hope, once in a while, my mind is blown, because we do have local filmmakers and we've screened their films before. And I bump into them on the street before the film festival. And I say, are you going to come to the festival this year? And they go, well, I don't have a film in the festival. And I go, we screened your film last year. This is a two-way street, right? Yeah, we need you to show up and support us, whether you have a film in the festival or not. So also because you benefit from it personally by doing that, by connecting with other artists as well. So, again, I just want to stress, and I thank Max, Charles, thank you for having us on today.
Always.
This is a festival for the community, hopefully about the community. We encourage everyone to maybe come see somebody they know to support their filmmaking, like Tanesha here, or to listen to somebody like Ava DuVernay or Nikki Giovanni or John Batiste, or anybody else we have in the festival as well. So thank you both for having us here today. Ilya, do you have anything?
Indeed.
Just want to echo a couple of points. The first, and I think Tanesha said this beautifully, is if you like what we're doing here, then we need you to come and support. And it's not just purely a matter of money, but we want to hear from our community what we're doing right, what we might need to change. And the best way to do that is to show up. And I think Tanesha showed that perseverance through that story. She maybe submitted a film. We consider a lot of movies every year. Again, over 1,400 this year, some from the top makers throughout the world. And I think the other thing the festival offers, it's very short. It's easy to miss in a blink of an eye. I understand everyone is busy. But if you hear some of these names, these Oscar winners, these incredible artists that are traveling in from truly all over the world to be here with you, try to come. This is not the same experience you're going to get if you can catch some of these movies on Netflix in a few months or years or in another theater. You're not going to get it with Ava DuVernay in person. I can practically guarantee you that. And if you like that kind of thing, then come. And if you don't like something we're doing, also come and let us know. Hey, I'd love to see you go in another direction. Can't promise how that'll be, but we'll at least hear you out. We want this festival to be of the community, and I think we are constantly shifting and evolving. Doesn't mean we're always getting it 100% right. But I think the best thing to do is, if you believe this should be in your community, come. And just lastly, it's sort of logistically, we mentioned a couple of times, but in case you missed it, the best way to do is to go on our website, virginiafilmfestival.org. You have everything there, the trailers, access to tickets, answers to questions. You can see the entire lineup. We only touched on a small piece of it today, virginiafilmfestival.org. You can also go to our theaters, Violet Crown or Paramount or Cobrith, and visit the box offices, pick up some of the print materials. The festival is October 25th to 29th, and I do really hope people take the opportunity to come.
Indeed, thank you. And Tanesha had one last word, and then Max will take us to break.
And I just want to tell the community, we often complain that we have nothing to do. Ava DuVernay, Nikki Giovanni, Jean Batiste, they are coming to Charlottesville.
Yep.
These are Black creatives, Black artists. These are Black legends. And if we don't fill that room, then nobody can complain to me that we don't have anything to do.
There you go.
Because oftentimes we like to say, well, they don't include us. We're being included, that we're not being excluded, and then we don't show up. So please show up. And I'm not saying that just for my film. I'm encouraging you to go to those films. Even if you miss mine, go to those films. I purchased a ticket for the Sunday night show and I can't go, and I'm happy to give it to somebody. So whoever comments or likes on In My Humble Opinion talk show, I will pick someone to give that ticket to on Sunday, because my time of my show runs into that show. So I want to make sure that we support and that we show up and that we don't complain because it's there. We have things to do. We just need to start showing up the way we show up for other things.
There you go.
Show up. It's not always going to be free. Show up, please.
Thank you. Look at Tanesha coming through with the on-air giveaway. Gotta love it.
Tanesha, thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on your film. Can't wait to come watch. And thank you to our friends with the Virginia Film Festival.
Absolutely.
And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more conversation on IMHO.